I get those goosebumps every time.
I just have to get the big fella off the bench.
Could this be their last chance now? In it comes, Monster to the front! He scored! Harry Monster scored!
I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too numb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need that line to throw that to the side, I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, when you throw that to the side, I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. 713 through the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me outside? I'm slipping low key and hiding. I get those goosebumps every time. I'm around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those comments. I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need that high.
Here we go. I saw that comment going up, Chris. That's way too positive. Way too positive. Welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC. We are back again, and we're back to talk about another defeat. God, this is becoming way too repetitive now at this stage, isn't it? And then the intro video of all the good old days of when we used to smash teams instead of being smashed. Chris, I'll start with you. How are you? Because you were out last night.
Yeah, I feel rough, mate. I don't feel great at all. And obviously the defeat doesn't help. My mates are in good spirits. They were last night. So yeah, disappointing. But you know, as we always do on losers, good, bad, or ugly, we do it, don't we? We get through it. So yeah, I'm pleased to be talking to you boys about it, and it'll be interesting actually to hear your thoughts on the match as well, because obviously I was in a very busy pub, so I didn't really hear any commentary, and it was a bit blurry because I did sink a few pints, but yeah. So I'm interested to dissect it with you boys, but yeah, I'm all good. How are you, Dosler?
I'm grand, yeah. Back at work, back in the thick of it now again. But yeah, apart from the game, all good still. 2nd of January. Yeah, that's Pete. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm loving life being off from work, spending time with the kids, and I was cleaning out my cupboards today, as I told you boys on voice note. Getting rid of all the old clothes that I'm not wearing anymore, and I just used over the last year. Start with a fresh wardrobe, doing all those things that you don't have time to do. So anything to get me away from talking and thinking about football. Although, to be fair, I have been pretty active on socials today. So yeah, I've not been that much away from football.
Well, now, Pete, you've teed me up. Sorry, Chris, did you want to say something?
Oh no, I was just going to say I liked Pete's phrase earlier, and Daz, I think you liked it as well when you said you were clearing out all your old shit to put in new shit.
Yeah,
it's so true. It's so true.
That's something I haven't got to this Christmas. I wanted to do this something similar, but that links us in nicely because there's a lot of people that have the same kind of thoughts on social media or in chats. People fighting each other and this, that, and the other, calling each other out, calling them various names. Some people are saying they would like a clear out in Newcastle, and I'm going to go straight into it before we even get to the match. Some people are calling for Eddie Howe, and they're saying that if he does not win on Saturday, that's it. They're calling time. They're saying he's no plan B. It's time to go. Blah blah blah. I know the three of us are not of that opinion, but there are plenty of people that are. So, and everyone has a right to opinion and has the right to share their voice. But for me, I'm going to give my opinion first. Now we're going to go to your opinions then, and then we'll get into the match. But for me, the game on Saturday should not dictate whether Eddie's fate. I know there would, if we were to, I don't think we're going to lose, but if we were to lose, I think there would be pitchforks at the ready. But I don't think that's right with everything that's gone on and where he got us previously. And you've heard the various commentary on it. But equally, if we were to win on Saturday, that should also not dictate that he should stay. it shouldn't be on that one match. It should be on a prolonged period. And I think he's, as I've said before, he's got enough credit in the bank to be given at least till the end of the season, at least this transfer window, at least to the end of the season, when injuries are players that when they're injured to come back, and then take stock of everything. So I think it's way too early to be pinning everything on this match on Saturday. And I know emotions are high, and they're only going to be tweaked up as we get closer to kickoff on Saturday as well. But I'm going to go straight in with that one first, guys. And Pete, I'm going to go to you first. What's your thoughts on the whole talk of Eddie Howe and this game on Saturday?
How long you got, fellas? How long you got? I'm not gonna lie. I've been right in the thick of it in these conversations on socials and saying things that people don't like. People don't like what I'm saying. Well, small sections, but I don't care. I'll have my opinion on
equally,
Newcastle.
I'm sure they don't care what you say either, Pete. But that's it.
But that's the thing. Like, but these are people that are commenting on things that I'm saying. So they obviously do care enough to reply to something that I've put out there. So look, the thing that I'll say is that, and I'll maintain, Eddie Howe's not going anywhere. We've said it before, say it again. In my opinion, Eddie Howe will still be here by the end of the season. Eddie Howe will be here at the beginning of next season. That's my opinion, and that's my opinion based on the credit he's got in the bank because of what he's done at the club already. He took the job, let's not forget, when nobody wanted it, when all of the other managers that we were linked with were turning their nose up at it, didn't want it. He took on the mantle, even when being rejected but from in favor of Unai Emery, still took the job afterwards. Some people would have took that as a pride issue and walked away from that opportunity. He took on the job and did a fantastic job, and he's doing a fantastic job at the moment, up until this point in time. And we have to remember that. We can't forget those things. What I will say is that I am actually genuinely surprised at, and look, we always say social media, it is a very small percentage of the fan base, but I'm surprised with how many on social media are actually calling for Eddie Howe to go, or seriously considering him being sacked, whether it was after the Forest game, after the game last night, and obviously saying he's literally got one game to save his job. Like, I'm genuinely surprised by that. It seems like all of his goodwill is done. A lot of fans are saying he's took us as far as he could, blah blah blah, all that stuff, and I get it to a certain point. But for me, it surprised me. I thought he would have more support, like more support than that. And it's kind of taking me back if I'm being honest, because I'm not of that way. Of course, there will be pressure. There's pressure right now. We've said it before. He has got pressure on him. I don't think it was pressure for his job, but he's got massive pressure, and that pressure will go up 10 times if he doesn't win on Saturday. I'm not even talking about the fact if we don't win. I'm convinced we're going to win. We've got the better team, the better quality of players. We are, even in our worst moments, still much better than this Sunderland team. And yes, derbies bring up surprises, but I'll tell you what, they should not be bringing up surprises in this game. So maybe that is additional pressure for him to get this result. But equally, this result could revamp his season. If we go and thump Sunderland at the weekend, everybody's buzzing. Everybody's buzzing. We've been waiting for this for 7-8 years. We are going to be buzzing. And that will, I think, give him a little bit of leeway. So it's a pressure in terms of that, but I don't think his job's on the line. I think they'll give him what he needs to get a couple of 2-3 signings in this window. And I do genuinely still believe that second half of the season, after we get January out the way, we're going to hit form and we're going to start picking up some points. I'm convinced about it. And once we start going on a run of winning matches and we get that good feel back again, I think the conversation of Eddie Howe not being the manager of this club disappears. And that's just my opinion. That's kind of where I stand on it right now. If you're talking that this run of winning, losing, and then we miss out on Europe in the summer, I think we're maybe having a different conversation. If we secure Europe in some way, shape, or form, I think he gets the first half of next season. This is the way I see it running with Eddie Howe. But I was surprised with the negativity towards him. I understand people are frustrated, but look, he's still our manager, and we need to get behind him.
Cheers, Pete. Same question to you, Chris, but I'm going to twist it slightly. It's like, it's Sunderland. And it means something to us, but it means an awful lot more to people that are living in Newcastle, working with fellow Sunderland fans. It's bragging rights. We know that's not everything what a derby is about. But if we were playing Leicester in the cup, it wouldn't have the same appeal as it's all or nothing in this game. We're going to jump on Eddie if Eddie out if it doesn't work out. But what's your thoughts on leading into this game and the talk on social media and elsewhere?
Yeah, see, do you know what? I'll start with the derby at the weekends. Like, I get that everyone wants to beat Sunderland. I'm fully in the minority when I think this, by the way. I get that everyone wants to beat Sunderland. I don't want to lose to Sunderland. You know what I mean? It's obviously it's not something that I particularly liked over the years, and I know they've more recently in recent fixtures they've had a good record against us. But for me, I don't know. I struggle with the fanfare around the fixture, because it feels like a fixture that may have been big 8, 9, 10 years ago. Now I don't. I mean, if Eddie Howe loses this fixture, it heaps a lot of pressure on him. Let's be honest. It heaps a lot of pressure on him. It's our rivals, and yeah, we want to beat them. But what equally what I don't want to see, and again, this is my own opinion. I don't want to see us beat Sunderland 4 or 5-0, and then everyone say that Eddie's brilliant, Eddie's fantastic, this is wonderful. Oh, our season's turning around. Because for me, I don't really see the importance of the fixture. I'm all about the Premier League form, and for me, Sunderland now, they're not in our space. They're not where we are. Yes, the rivals. Yes, we want to beat them, and I'm not suggesting otherwise. But I think people are putting too much importance on the game. Yes, we want to get through to the next round, but if you were to ask me now, would you prefer a home win against Man City in the Premier League or a win against Sunderland in the Cup? I'd pick Man City every day of the week, because our league form is concerning me. And really, it's going to be the league form that kind of determines how good or bad this season is, in my opinion. Some people may not like that, but that's just how I see it. Yes, I suppose if you live in Newcastle, you've got your bragging rights, and obviously there'll be a lot of people, who work with Sunderland fans and Newcastle fans, vice versa. So you always want one up on your friends, and none more so than me last night. Obviously I wanted to beat Liverpool last night because the majority of my friends are either Liverpool or Everton fans. So I do get it. But Liverpool and Everton are competing with us in this league. Sunderland's aren't. So even if we beat Sunderland 12-0, what does that prove? I don't understand the furore around it. Yes, we haven't had a derby in 8 years, but it's not that big a fixture, in my opinion. In terms of...
We lost Chris.
Oh, he may well come back. He may well come back.
That... Oh, sorry, did I go there?
You're back.
Yeah,
You're
sorry.
back.
Yeah, in terms of Eddie Howe's future, I think I agree with what Pete said. I think Eddie Howe will see the season out. I think bare minimum, the first difficulty I see for Eddie Howe is if we finish the season poorly and he starts next season poorly. So if we get to September, October and things haven't improved, or we're languishing in the bottom half, then Eddie Howe's under pressure, in my opinion, for early next season. But I think the owners are fully behind him. I think he's deserved. I think you boys talked about credit in the bank. I think he has got enough credit in the bank, and I think that he got us top 4. We've had a fantastic Champions League campaign. I know it probably still doesn't feel that way, but we have. We've played some massive teams and we've not disgraced ourselves. And I think we'll look back on it and go, do you know what, we did okay there. So I think we'll look back on the Champions League and think, you know what, it was pretty decent. And I do think that has an effect. And let's not forget the injuries as well, boys. You know, it's a fact. We've struggled with injuries and we've struggled to keep our players fit. And I think if we had a fully fit team, it's a different scenario. It's a completely different scenario how things have panned out. For me, the importance now going forward for Eddie Howe is this January transfer window, because I think there's an opportunity for them to kind of turn things around. It's an opportunity for the club to back him, show that they're backing him, and say to him, listen, you know, go and get the 2 or 3 players that we desperately need in. And I know there's been a lot of rumours coming out recently that, you know, he may be lucky to get 1 loan deal. And I think if that's the case, I think we're missing out on a massive opportunity to really cement ourselves in those European places. Because if we finish outside of Europe this season, it's not gonna be detrimental to us on our plan going forward, but it will be a crying shame if we don't end up getting Europe this season, because we're more than capable of it. You'll see where we are in the league. We're still very much in and amongst it, and we've been playing absolutely dreadful the last couple of months. So if we can really turn this round and have a strong 2024, there's no reason why we can't get ourselves at least in the top 6, maybe top 5. I still believe there's a possibility of top 4 as well, but maybe that's me just being incredibly hopeful. I don't know, but I
think it is, Chris.
Do you know what? Do you know what though, Daz? I think there's what is there 20 games to go? Oh no, sorry, not 20 games to go. No, there's 18 games to go, I think. And Villa and Tottenham, they could go on a tough run. Man United, Brighton, West Ham, they're all topsy-turvy sides. Obviously, the top 3 we're not going to catch. I know that. But I do think there's an opportunity for us to kind of kick on, and I think Eddie deserves the chance to be able to turn this around. Whether or not he'll be given the opportunity, I don't know. But me personally, I think he'll definitely be in the hot seat come next season.
Cool. Well, that's the elephant in the room all the way. That's because that's the main topic. But let's get into the actual game itself and talk about some of the details. First up, the starting lineup. Trips absent. Wilson absent. Gone to Dubai, perhaps. Miggy on the bench, and J7 moved in to left wing. Gordon moved out to the right. But thoughts, and here's the Liverpool lineup as well. But thoughts on our lineup. Pete, we'll go to you first.
It was a bit of a surprise to hear. I think I'd mentioned it to you boys. There was kind of rumours of Wilson boarding a plane the same day that he's meant to be turned up at Anfield. So that started to ring alarm bells, that he was heading to Dubai and not Anfield. The Trippier one, honestly, boys, I think he's been given a rest. They've said it's a groin injury. I'm not buying it. I'm not. I think they've allowed him to maybe enjoy his New Year's with his wife and his family. Go and rejuvenate yourself. Don't put yourself in a position at Anfield where you could make a mistake that could cost us the game or bring more negativity towards you. Go get yourself ready for the Stadium of Light. And it wouldn't surprise me if Eddie Howe said, you're starting, you're playing on Saturday, go get yourself ready. So I wasn't surprised by the Trippier, the kind of Trippier absence. And I think maybe it was the right decision. Give Livramento his start. Yes, the question marks about Dan Burn, but play him. I don't get this. People keep talking about, oh, he's not fit. He's not been up and running. He's been playing for 3 weeks. He's been playing every day, every game. Sorry, been training and playing every day for 3 weeks. I understood when he first came back, he wasn't fit, and he said that. I get it. I understand it. But he's been playing for 3 weeks now, and he's played quite a few minutes, and he's had quite a significant rest. So it's not like his body's knackered or tired. Like, he's up and running now, so there should be no excuses. But for me, I just don't think he's at his peak. I think we saw Dan Burn's peak last season. I think we're seeing the decline of Dan Burn. He'll still have good games, but I don't think we're going to get consistency. So I had no issue with him starting. There is nobody else. It doesn't seem like Lewis Hall's going to get any minutes, although he came on and I thought he did all right up against Salah for that last part, albeit the game was done. But in terms of the lineup, yeah, I was just like, let's go. Let's go and do the best that we can possibly do.
Chris, yourself, any thoughts on the lineup?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any complaints with the lineup. Obviously, like Pete said, it was a surprise to see Trippier not in the squad and Wilson not in the squad. For me, I think Trippier should have been dropped or vested, whatever you want to call it, about 2 games ago. So you know, I wasn't, not when I say I wasn't particularly bothered. I was pleased that he was kind of taken out of the 5 in line, because Anfield's never never an easy place to go. It's incredibly difficult. So maybe last night wasn't a good time to play Trippier given his recent form. But yeah, I was happy with Livramento. I kind of knew Dan Burn would start because the options are so limited. Obviously, great to see Botman back. You know, he's started a couple of games now, so I think we'll soon start to see the best of Sven Botman. And yeah, the midfield and forward line, I suppose it was to be expected, and this is the problem, isn't it? As soon as you're missing a couple of players, it's like, right, well, he has to play or he's going to play. I suppose Miggy being out was an interesting one, and putting Gordon on the right. But I love Big Joe Linton, and you know, we've spoken a lot on this channel, haven't we, about Joe Linton possibly being you know, a really good option on that left wing. So it was nice to see Big Joe in the left wing position. So yeah, I went into the game confident. I was happy with the lineup.
Awesome. Just a reminder, because I always forget, smash that like button as well. We have about 70 people in the chat, and we will come back to your questions as well. I haven't even looked at them myself, but I know the lads are keeping an eye on them, and we'll come back to any questions. I'd say there'll be a few comments on the first topic, but let me run you through the first half. I will stop at points of interest along the way. So kicked off, you can see J7 was kind of brought in and on that left hand side, also with an eye to try and keep an eye on the roaming Trent Alexander-Arnold, who is their key player really. But yeah, Miley had a shot blocked down on 7 minutes. Dubravka saved from Nunez. This is a recurring feature right through this review. So 17 minutes, a ball in the net. Diaz put the ball in the net, but VAR ruled it offside. Yay!
I enjoyed that, by the way. I enjoyed that. I did enjoy that. Yeah.
Maybe our luck was in, I thought. Pino. Botman brings down Diaz, 19th minute. VAR confirmed that Pino. Salah stepped up. Dubravka saved it. Who would have thought that? Not us, but yes, Dubravka saved it. Our luck is definitely in, I thought to myself. Not so much. Right, we'll move on. Isaac had a chance offside and went wide on 30 minutes, 35 minutes. A wonder save from Dubravka again. This guy, signing him up, give him a 10-year contract at this stage. But from Nunez, after Botman did a bit of a fuck up, I think, there at that stage. But yeah, 36 minutes.
Did you just say Dubravka 10-year contract?
Yeah, I was joking. You keep her in, but no. In fairness to him, he's spoiler alert, he's my man of the match. Him and Joe Linton I thought were very good. But yeah, 36 minutes. Burn diving header in the back of the net. Our luck is definitely in. I thought this is our night. No, VAR intervened again, offside. Then Trent on the 38 minute had a volley from near the corner flag. It hits the post. That was some volley. If that went in fairness, you'd have to credit that. But halftime 0-0. I know our hopes are up. Maybe, just maybe, we're not going to get smashed here. Maybe it might be our day. But I'll stop there for a second. What was your thoughts at this stage? No, Chris, I'll go to you first. Sitting in the pub, surrounded by Reds, I'm sure. What was the thoughts?
Do you know what I did? Like you, as a force, is this our day? Is it, you know, because a lot of things fell our way, didn't they? In Liverpool, obviously, were really dominant in that first half. I thought I was panicking a bit, but then when you get to a point where you go, do you know what, they should have scored by now, and the fact that they haven't, does that just indicate that it's our day? It's our time, to really punish them. And I think if we had gone 1-0 up, given all that attack that has happened, I think maybe the result would have been different. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, based on that first half, I wasn't feeling overly confident for the second half, but I was kind of half hopeful that we could maybe do something, and Eddie could have a word with them at half time and say, right, come on, you need to kind of get out there, put them under pressure. The press was there for a little bit, and then it just died off, and then it was just like, yeah, go on, you just come to us. A lot of the time we were just camped in our own half, which was disappointing to see. But again, because of where you are, at Anfield, it's very, very difficult. So I did kind of go in at half time and think, yeah, do you know what, we're lucky there. But what I wanted to ask you both was, there was a lot of debate in the pub about the penalty that was given, and I kind of felt that there was a bit of justice there, that Salah had missed the penalty, and I did have something to add on that as well, actually. But yeah, I wanted to know what you thought of the penalty given against Botman, and what I also wanted to ask you was, what was your opinion of, and I reckon Pete's gonna have an opinion on this definitely. What was your opinion on Trent's follow-up shot?
Well, yeah, Trent's follow-up shot. He was about to hit it. Then he saw Dubravka was kind of standing up, so he tried to put it a bit higher, but then just skied it. And on the penalty, I'm going to say that one, I thought it was a penalty. The one we'll get to in a few minutes, but and I think that one was a penalty. When I looked back at it again, I'm saying a penalty.
What about you, Pete?
No penalty for me. Firstly, I was annoyed with Dan Burn. Got beat too easily. Botman's then got to cover him, which it wasn't the first time. And it wasn't the last after that Botman had to cover Dan Burn in that game today. Yesterday, should I say. I thought Botman did really well to try and put him off. But for me, and it makes me laugh on Sky Sports, Carragher slowing it down on the big screen and pointing right there where the contact is to try and justify why it was a penalty. There's everything you need to know about that situation. Because I tell you what, if it was the other way around, he would not be trying to justify and point to the huge screen that they've got right at the point of contact. And it was the tiniest bit of contact. And you know what? The contact was more for the Liverpool player
standing
on Botman, not Botman clattering into him and bringing him down. So for me, it was never, ever a penalty. You know what? Could have stayed on his feet, could have done the right thing by putting the ball in the net, but he didn't. And I think that gave a precedent to what happened in the rest of the game. Never a penalty for me whatsoever.
What I wanted to ask Pete was, and Daz as well, did you notice, because I've watched this back 3 or 4 times now, and if you haven't watched it, watch it back. Did you notice, Dubravka yesterday had arguably his best game ever. He did really well and he kept the score down. But did you notice when Trent took the follow-up shot, Dubravka actually dived out the way of the ball?
Yeah. What did I tell you? What have I told you?
Mate, I watched it and I was like, nah, that can't be right. I'll have to watch it again. But I rewound it and I was like,
he goes like that.
Yeah, he goes like that, as if oh, don't hit me. And then he skies it over and then celebrates. And it's like, well, you've just dived out the way of the ball. Because a keeper, normally you're coming out like that, aren't you? But like Schmeichel used to do, star shape, block, cover as much of the goal as you can. Dubravka actually goes towards Trent and then goes like that. And then Trent just skies it.
So you're saying not a 10-year contract, 8-year contract like Pardew?
Maybe just 8.
That'll do.
Yeah.
Right, we'll agree to disagree on the penalty.
The Reese contract at this rate. He's
gone.
Galaxy.
He's gone, isn't he? Yeah. You must be good at Pete. He's not coming now. But you can get him on loan maybe, because as Kieran Maguire said, it's only loans really. But we'll move on. Second half. This is where all the action happened really. 48 minutes. Salah goes and scores a goal. Nunes free. He passes it to Salah. Goal. Now I know we're going to go into more depth on this. Pete, you have the old tactics board. But Anthony, you want to say on this goal at the moment, before, or you want to save it for the tactics board?
Can I just say a little something on the first half, just really quickly? Yeah. We went in at 0-0, and the first thing I saw on my phone at halftime was you, Daz. You messaged and you said, "I'll take that," and I was of the same mindset. I'll take that halftime. First 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I was thinking, what score is this going to be? This is going to be crazy, because the pressure that they put on us was crazy. And I have to say, one of our downfalls is our use of the ball. It is really, really poor. And I'm going to single out Tino Livramento here, because he was not good on the ball yesterday at all. He gave the ball cheaply away. If you go back to that penalty, in fact, that penalty incident, it all starts with Tino Livramento in the middle of the field, in midfield, and he gives a 3-4 yard pass to Lewis Miley, who has two players on it. It's a hospital ball. And I said that in the Geordies Down South chat. And Seb's in the chat. He might well have seen that when I messaged it live. I said, why the hell is Livramento giving him a hospital ball? He did not want the ball, Livramento. He wanted to shift it and get rid of it as quick as possible. And he gives the ball to Miley. Miley gets handed out. They go on the counter-attack. In on goal, bang, boom, penalty. We just gave the ball away needlessly when we didn't need to at times. And when we got into good positions, we gave the ball away. What I was pleased about, and some people may shoot me down for this, but there was elements of the game in that first half that I was really pleased about. And one of them was that we were able to ride the storm and come through at the other end. A hospital ball is, Nobby's said, what the fuck is a ball? If any you boys have played football, so you know, but hospital ball is when you're giving somebody the ball, either giving them the ball in a position where they could potentially get absolutely smashed and potentially get a leg breaking challenge against them because the ball's so bad. Or a hospital ball is when you're giving the ball to someone in an impossible position where you're just trying to get rid of the ball from yourself and putting it into a position where that player's got no chance of coming out with the ball. And that's what Tino Livramento did to Miley. He gave him the ball in an impossible position. He had two men hounding him. He got the ball nicked. They were on the counter-attack. The penalty came off the back of that. And it wasn't the first time that Tino had done that. Would I there put J7 too? Joe Linton did do that a couple of times as well in the game. But what I was really pleased about is that we rode the storm. We got through that difficult period, and then we started playing. I was genuinely surprised of how many openings, good openings, I should add, that we created. Dan Burns' goal that was offside was a really good, well-worked move on the counter-attack. We created two or three others where the final ball either wasn't passed to the right person or we were just off it, offside, whatever reason, that kind of stopped us from gaining an advantage or gaining a goal-scoring opportunity. The third thing is that, for me, I saw an element, and I've said it to you boys before, I miss Eddie Howe's shithouse mags, where they win free kicks in impossible positions, where they slow the game down, where they frustrate the hell out of the opposition. I saw elements of that in the first half. Not so much in the second half, but definitely in the first half. And Liverpool were frustrated. The fans were frustrated. The players were frustrated, which is
Klopp
why...
was frustrated.
Klopp was frustrated, which is why, which I thought was an absolute disgrace, by the way, that they were trying to get us booked or in trouble for anything. Lewis Miley, a 17-year-old lad, makes a perfectly good challenge on Mohamed Salah.
It was a brilliant challenge.
Salah just three balls on the floor as if he's broken his ankle, and within 5 seconds is up, going mad at the referee, saying that he should be sent off, and he gets a booking for it. And that the only reason he gets a booking for that is because Salah goes mad. And that told me that, one, they were frustrated. They were trying to get any type of win, any type of booking, any type of advantage offers because they were frustrated that they weren't getting in. And that is what I've missed from Newcastle. We haven't seen that this season. We haven't had that shithouse performance. We should do it week in, week out, which is why opposition fans hated us last year, because they knew that we would just absolutely shithouse our ways through games and have the quality to nick a goal or two or three and win the game comfortably. And I saw an element of that in the first half. And that filled me with a little bit of confidence, not for the game last night, but for what we may well see, particularly on Saturday, moving forward. So I just wanted to add in for that. Like in particular.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And that was typified by Joe Linton. I think I said in the chat as well, Pete, that how the hell had he not got a yellow card by half time? But it was brilliant. He was kind of like he knew that he was eventually going to get that yellow card, but no, thought he was class. Right, yeah. So we've had Salah's goal here. We're going to talk about it a bit more in a few minutes of tactics board. So maybe I'll just run through this and then we'll go to the tactics board and go on the on-field goals rather than the penalties we focus on. So after that, 51 minutes, Dubravka saved from Nunez. 52 minutes, Dubravka saves from Nunez again. 53 minutes, Miley off, Miggy on. Gordon switches out to the right. Joe Linton moves back into midfield. Miggy goes in his usual place on the right. Isak goal 1 minute later. Gordon ball to Isak, goal for us. 1-1 at that stage. Then Anthony, you want to say about Isak's goal?
Oh, Chris.
There was scenes in the Windsor pub when that goal went in. I had me mate in a headlock. It was brilliant because it came completely against the run of play. Anthony Gordon did absolutely fantastic. Played through a really nice ball for Alexander Isak, and yet again, I'm having to justify that Alexander Isak made a really smart finish. Apparently, it was a scuff shot. That's what I was getting told, and I was just like, "Hang on, there's no way you can't credit him with that finish because you've seen Alisson, he comes running out, stretches, and he just buries it in the corner. It was a really, really smart finish. But yeah, Alexander Isak wheels away in front of the cop end. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I did that did give me the hope then. That really raised my spirits. And I was thinking, hang on a minute, is something going to happen here? But yeah, great play from Gordon and really, really smart finish from Isak.
It's the hope that kills you.
It is.
That's the issue. But yeah, it was a tremendously taken goal. This is the Isak that we want to see. Was Isak bombing around, chasing everything, full throttle for the game? Nah, he wasn't. But I tell you what, he had Virgil van Dijk rattled right from the beginning. He hates. I put a voice note in Jordan's down south chat, and I said, Virgil van Dijk hates playing against Isak because he can't control him. His movement's too good. He's too quick. He's too skillful on the ball. He'll manipulate the ball. If you try and take it off him, he'll win a free kick. He got him sent off in the game at St. James's Park earlier on in the season. You don't like playing against him. And Isak, I thought it was just a sensational finish. A little dink pass, a little dink over, reminded me a little bit, not as high, but a little bit of the Villa goal that he scored first game of the season. He just runs through, just dinks it over him. Because Alisson goes down low, he just dinks it in. It's a straight shot, but into the far corner. That's exactly what he's doing. And that is what we need. What's that now? 9 goals for the season. He's had a huge chunk of huge chunk of games where he's missed. Huge chunk where he's played with injuries, so literally playing within himself. Still on 9 goals.
And where he's played game after game after game, and no backup to rest him and stuff as well.
And injured, and injured. Yeah. So, on that basis, a fully fit Alexander Isak, could quite easily target 20 goals this season.
Yeah,
which just tells you everything you need to know. He is the guy. We keep him fit. We look after him. He is the guy to take us forward because in those moments, he is a punisher. He is the punisher. If anyone loves Marvel, you know what I mean. He is the guy that makes the difference. And it was great to see. And yeah, I apologize. I mentioned in my little comments on Twitter afterwards about the game that I said Anthony Gordon looked sharper. He didn't look sharper. I apologize for that. And I changed it. But he looked better playing on that left-hand side. And he came to life. And like you said, Chris, he did really, really well for that goal. Drove forward, played the right ball, nice and simple, gets himself an assist for the game. And that actually raised this game for about 10 or 15 minutes after that. He actually played well after that, but then dipped off again. But yeah.
Yeah, look, he did look jaded even at half time. You're thinking, he did look jaded, right? But yeah, look, move on. It's 1-1 now at this stage.
Naughty,
I like that.
William.
I like that. It's all
Don't believe
rumors.
those rumors, will you?
Allegedly.
Right.
Allegedly.
Right. 61 minutes, Dubravka save. 64 minutes, Dubravka save. 68 minutes. Yes, you guessed it. Dubravka save. 73 minutes. No. This is a Liverpool goal. Jones scored on the counter attack. We're going to take it in the tactics board and go into detail on it then. 77 minutes. Liverpool goal again. Gapco, Cody Gapco. Great ball from Salah outside of the foot. He kind of now that's a scuffed shot. Chris. He kind of fumbled the ball in 3-1.
They were all celebrating like mad, Daz, like mad. And it was like, watch the replay. Like, he barely kicks it. And, like, you know, and he even looks embarrassed to wheel away and celebrate because he just makes a mess of it, although he does enough and it goes in. And again, you know, I don't want to hammer Dubravka too much here, like, but again, just falls to the floor. And it's like, you know, but he did have a good game, so I'm not going to go with Dubravka.
I think he was just wrong-footed. Just wrong-footed. I think he goes full throttle to the other end of the goal because that's where he expects him to go, and he almost kind of puts all his body that way and just gets caught the other side. It happens to every goalkeeper.
It does. Yeah, it does.
But then you're thinking at this stage 3-1. Look at it's finally they finally got what they came to do really, so they broke us down. But no, 80 minutes. Botman header from a Longstaff corner, 3-2. Could it be? I know my hopes were raised again at this stage, but I guess that's the thoughts on Botman's goal there. Pete, we'll go to you first on Botman's goal.
Loved it. Big Sven, boom. That's what I used to watch when I used to watch him playing for Lille. They're the kind of goals that you'd see him score from set pieces. Sure, Longstaff should be taking them more often because if we get deliveries like that in, because if you watch Trippier's deliveries, they're more sort of lofted passes where he lofts it into an area where a big defender, normally Burn, is running and attacking it from the back post. But sometimes these whip balls into the box, just all you need is a little touch. I mean, he gets a right good head on it and nails it into the bottom corner. Goalkeeper's got no chance. With those whipped crosses into the box, all we need is a touch, and not necessarily from your player that can put it into the net. And I just think we need a variation on set pieces. So I was really pleased to see Longstaff take something different and it pay off, because hopefully it should open up to. Because Mad Dog Tyndall is the one that works on set pieces. I'm as far as I'm aware, and he did when he was at Bournemouth. So I'm assuming he's doing the same now. So for me, great ball in. Great header, bullet header. And yeah, you're thinking there's still time.
Maybe.
What was that? Was that the 80th minute? 81st minute?
That was the 80th minute. There was still like a good 15 minutes left at that stage.
At that point, you're saying, get the ball. Put it on the spot, you're back on again. But yeah.
Chris, did you want to say something about Botman's goal?
No, just that I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was a proper old-fashioned centre-half goal, wasn't it? I think he actually catches his shoulder as well on the way in, but powerful header and really threw his whole body at it. And you love to see goals like that. And yeah, it did give us a little bit of hope, didn't it? A 3-2, and with 10 minutes to go plus stoppage time, you know, it gave me a little cheer in the pub. I had me a little cheer when that went in, but yeah. It turns out it didn't mean anything, but it gave us a bit of excitement and felt like we were back in the game.
Yeah, you would have been dancing if some of the rest of it played out. But right, 81 minutes, Hall and Lascelles came on, Byrne and J7 went off. Then I can't remember who played the ball in, but someone played the ball in. Longstaff took it down on the chest. There was a tackle on Longstaff then. It didn't show it as a replay again on live after that, but the ball went up the other end, a great through ball. But yeah, then this happened. Then I don't have the clip, but just Jota 1-on-1 with Dubravka, tries to go around him, goal clear in front of him. Dubravka has gone down at this stage. As you'll see, Jota takes a good 10, 15, 20 meters and then decides he'll fall over and dive. And unbelievably, they gave a penalty for it. But and up steps Salah and gets the penalty this time, but puts in the back of the net and makes it 4-2, game over. Robbed us of a grandstand finish. But thoughts on that whole sequence of play in that minute? It was the 83rd minute that all took place. Chris, I'll go to you first on that.
Do you know what? I don't even want to spend too much time on this because it's just blatantly not a penalty, is it? It's just not a penalty. And anybody who suggests otherwise, I mean, like we were talking before, that's about the first penalty. I can see why that's subjective, because Botman he gives the referee the opportunity to give the pen because he does lunge in quite recklessly. Yes, there's not contacts made, and well, you can argue whether the Liverpool player made contact with Botman or whether Botman made contact with the Liverpool player, and Pete was mentioning that Carragher was all too keen to show that it was the Liverpool player making contact with Botman. But with this one, it's just stonewall, not a penalty. It never was, and I think the disappointing thing is again that we've been let down by VAR, not just Newcastle fans, but just football fans in general, because most football fans who watch that will go, no, it's not a penalty, because Jota can clearly stay on his feet and then he just decides to tumble on the floor. And when you actually look at the replays, which I'm assuming VAR will have looked at a lot, Dubravka actually goes down and then it pulls his hands away, and then so the contact, if there was any, the contact must have been so minimal. But the fact that he's pulled his hands away as if to say, oh, I don't want to touch him kind of thing. And then minimal contact, as I say, if it was contact. And then he stays on his feet and then just falls. So that just indicates itself, doesn't it? That, it wasn't a penalty, but it is what it is. It is what it is. And unfortunately, that's a problem that no doubt we will be speaking about again in the future, where VAR are not intervening at the right time. Because I believe the referee gave the decision, and then it was up to VAR to basically overturn it, and he didn't.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what happened, Chris. Pete, your thoughts on that one?
Shocking, absolutely shocking. Never a penalty, even more so than the previous one, as Chris has mentioned. It just begs the question: why didn't he just put it in the net? Or why didn't he get the shot off? The reason why he didn't get the shot off is because his pass, almost his movement around Dubravka, is poor, and he pulls himself really far away from goal. And because he knows he can't get there, because if you watch it back, Shaw and Botman are both coming in. Shaw's pretty much going to get there to cover the line, certainly the near post, and Botman's there potentially to cover the back post. And I think he knows it. He knows it's on his weaker foot as well. So the easier thing for him is just to go to ground, and the fact that the ref gave it was shocking, and the fact that VAR didn't overrule it is equally shocking. But look, it of course Dubravka, I think, touches him with an elbow, but I'm not being funny. Like some people have said on socials, like journalists and opposition who report on Liverpool, but if you're running at so much speed and you get that touch, you're going to go flying to ground. Yeah, you would go flying to ground if the touch was genuinely going to take you off your feet. The fact that he stayed up for 2 seconds afterwards, then decided to fall to ground, tells you everything you need to know that it was fabricated. And what annoys me off the back of that is just 30 seconds, 40 seconds before that, we should have had our own penalty, because Longstaff gets took down. And actually, I'm annoyed with Longstaff more than anything, because he should have done what Jota did.
He should have gone.
He should have gone down. He should have initiated the contact and gone down, because you know what? There would have been no choice. If it had generated more contact or gone down like Jota did, we'd have won a penalty. And this is the problem with Newcastle United. This goes back to being shithouse last season to not this season. We're too nice. We are being far too nice. It's almost like the club have said, well, we got a lot of stick last year for being shithouses. We need to toe the line a little bit because we're getting a lot of negative press, whatever. It almost feels like that's happened. It hasn't. I don't imagine it has happened. But I believe a conversation has probably happened to say, don't waste as much time. Make sure that you're not going to ground too easily because of yellow cards, blah, 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 blah. I imagine that conversation's happened. But in situations like that at Anfield, you've got to initiate contact there because Longstaff does everything right. The ball in, I think, is from Gordon. A good ball, whip ball in. Longstaff does the right thing, making a deep run, wins the ball on his chest. The guy is purely going to take him out. He's going to take him out because he thinks Longstaff's in. So you've got to play on that, and we need to do that more. We've just got to be smart. We're not being smart in these situations. We are far too nice as a team. And what happens then? 30 seconds later, we get punished for the exact same thing, and Jota does what Sean Longstaff doesn't. They get a penalty, 4-2,
Game over. Bang, game over, 4-2. Right. Let's look at the tactics board, Pete, and break down the two goals from play.
Yeah.
Did you do the first goal, Pete?
Salah's first, yeah.
Salah's first.
Yeah. It's a Salah's goal.
Yeah. That because I didn't comment on that earlier, but that pass from Diaz is what's killed us. That pass from Diaz was incredibly smart. For that first goal, it was a really, really clever pass. But I know you're going to go into the defending, which is going to be a common theme for this tactics board tonight, I'd imagine.
Yeah, definitely. Hold on 1 second. Where's my? Okay, I'm just going back to the animations. All right, so I'm in. So this is the starting point. So Diaz is at the point where he's got the ball out wide, one-on-one with Livramento as the ball works. Now, what's the obvious thing that you're seeing here in this situation? I'll tell you, and it's Dan Burn, who's meant to be here, is here. I don't know why it's happening, but he is completely out of position. And this is ultimately why the goal happens. Now, like how we've set up, it's an issue. It's an issue because Nunes is out there. He's not marked. He's free as a bird. Botman is doing his job. He's marking Salah. Shaw is in a good position. Livramento's one-on-one. Burn is just behind. I've said Curtis Jones. I believe I've got that wrong. I think it might have been Sloboslai. So forget the name, but the run and the movement is exactly the same. But Dan Burn's trying to get back in. The criminal part is what comes up next. So I'll just play it. So at this point, Diaz cuts back in onto his right-hand side. And instead of Burn following there is Zabaslai, I've got Curtis Jones on there, but it's Zabaslai, he stops and he tries to double up. That's not the worst thing in the world. It's not, because you'd expect the midfielder to do that. A Longstaff, a Miley, a Bruno, they're not back in time. They're the closest midfielders, as you can see, at that point to the ball. Longstaff's not in the picture. So you got Miley and Guimaraes, but they're not there. And that's not the worst thing in the world, but it's the poor quality of the tackle. It's too easy. It's so easy. He just bypasses him far too easy. And once he beats him, as you said, Chris, there's your problem. Because what happens there, and I wish I could go back, I'm not going to because it would take too much time up, is as that pass comes across, Salah just crosses the path of Botman. And Botman can't get to it because Botman doesn't see it until it's too late. Yeah. So it's great movement from Salah, but it's criminal. If you're doubling up there, you cannot let that ball go through. Especially because you're not in position, Dan Burn. You have to win that ball. Take him out and see the free kick. I don't care. But you can't let him get that. And there was a comedy of errors from Dan Burn in this game. He got absolutely roasted by Salah on that side. And they used Dan Burn as a point to attack all game. And maybe that's part of the reason why Diaz cut back inside, because he knew he had the beating of him. And then the ball comes in, as you can see. at that point it goes in. But you've got to then question. You've got 3 players in the box there. How has Salah been able to ghost these 3 to get a little tap in there? And obviously, I've not put the goalkeeper because we know what happens anyway. The goalkeeper is actually around here. He actually monitors Dubravka monitors his near post really well. And so the only option is a cross goal. I question Shaw here, and it's not for the first time either. Is that Fabian Shaw? He can see Salah's movement and doesn't track him. Botman is faced the other way because Botman then becomes the guy who has to then go to Nunes, but it's all too late. Shaw should be following that. He's got no one to mark. He should be looking at Salah, but of course, too late, puts it in the net, and it's 1-0. And it's just really, really poor positioning, poor dealing with the situation that ultimately concedes us the first goal. And that starts off, unfortunately, lads, the number of errors that come about after that.
Yeah,
it's 3 minutes into the second half as well. Of course, all comes about.
Yeah, fantastic pass from Diaz. He gets his head up, but you're right. You know, he's got 2 men on him at that point, and it's up to Dan Burn to take him out. Dan Burn shouldn't even be there. Dan Burn should be at the far post, occupying Darwin Nunes.
Yeah. I remember thinking when the goal went, I was like, "Where the fuck is Burn? Where's he gone?" But you can see replays. He's sprinting after Szoboszlai, who's he can't keep up with. But then you imagine like Gordon was still on the right. Gordon was on the right. So the left, Joe Linton, but Joe Linton was everywhere. It wasn't. His job isn't to cover Burn either. He shouldn't be back that far. But
neither of them are in position. But then our recoveries, that was the big problem. And to be fair, Foxy said it. He's put it in the chat. Said it from day one. We might have players that can fit in to play DM, but no one that naturally plays the DM role. Bruno not disciplined enough. Will keep conceding for fun with this setup. And yeah, look, I'm going in on Dan Burn there. And I'm saying that he should be stopping that from happening. But equally, a defensive-minded midfielder stops that from happening too, because he should be the one to double up and break up that play. So yeah, I'm talking about Dan Burn because he's in that situation, but actually, a defensive midfielder should be in place there. Like when that goal goes in, you like where Miley and Bruno are. Like when that move starts, should I say? When I had it at the first starting point. Like they're too high up the pitch. They shouldn't be. There should always be a deep lying defending midfielder. And this is the problem away from home. This is why we can see too many goals, as Foxy said. It's a continual issue. It really is.
Yeah. And it's one we're yet to see if they're going to fix in this transfer window. We've been crying out for it, and look, we're going to get into more of that tomorrow, of course, with the fully loaded transfer show. But sorry, Chris.
No, I was just going to say, mate. I think do you know what? I probably will watch that first goal back because I do, as much as Dan Burn shouldn't be there. Equally, you could also put it a little bit down to communication. Should Fabian Shaw be shouting at Sven Botman and telling him to push over, and then Fabian Shaw taking control of the situation, keeping an eye on Salah in the middle, allowing Botman when he does go over to Darwin Nunes for Shaw to be goal side of Salah, and then it doesn't happen. Do we want Martin Dubravka to be shouting more to kind of tell the defence what's happening, even before when Diaz is on the left hand side and he's looking to cut in? Are we should we be screaming at like the likes of Joe Linton, the likes of Bruno, the likes of Miley? We know from last season how many times did we see, boys, where you saw Anthony Gordon at right back, or you saw Sean Longstaff at left back, because they're always filling in for each other, and it just feels at times like that isn't happening as much at the moment. And whether that's down to lack of communication, whether it's down to lack of effort, I don't know. But somebody should have been filling in on that left-hand side. And Dan Burn, yes, he shouldn't be where he is, but surely someone on the pitch should have gone, oh, hang on, Dan's not in left back. Let's move over. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cover. Yeah, we even did it in our little charity game. You'd cover for each other. It didn't work great, but we tried it.
I'll leave it there. But I think Chris, you made a really good point. That lack of communication is really important, and what ultimately resulted in the goal.
Yeah.
But the second goal here, and it's the one that makes it 2-1. I'll bring it up on the screen. So I think it's eventually that Curtis Jones is the one that scores the goal. This is the starting positions of all the players. You can see certain players and you know where their runs are going to be. But Salah's got the ball up against Dan Burn, and this was a nightmare for us all game. Again, for me, Burn gets beaten too easily. Yes, it goes through his legs, but he's a big defender, big long legs. He should be able to create problems for an attacking player running at him, and he just seems to lose the ball far too easily. But I'll go through the animation again really quickly. Just keep an eye on Diogo Jota. I think at this point, Botman lets him go far too easily, and then you got to look at Fabian Schär. Where Curtis Jones eventually puts the ball in the net. Why isn't Shaw stopping this? If you're looking at the starting point of this move, Shaw, Botman are in great positions. They're exactly where you need them to be as a centre-back pairing. But as it transpires, you see that little movement there where Jota makes that little move inside Botman and Shaw. Shaw then comes across to cover Botman and then leaves it wide open for Curtis Jones to put in. Dubravka's not fault at that one. He comes out, tries to make the angle tight. But Botman, Shaw, Burn don't hold themselves in good light there. I think it's really, really poor defending, easy defending to manipulate. And Liverpool did that. And this is why they brought Jota on at this point, because he's not that big physical target man striker that Nunez was, because Newcastle were handling him quite well. He was the victim of his own downfall, which is why Nunez got brought off. We were handling him quite well, but when you bring Jota on, that's likes to play deep in that number 10 role and make runs in between centre backs, you've got to think differently, and you've got to be tied to your man. You've got to know where his movements are going to be. And if I'll run it back, you'll be able to see it play out again. That little movement in there that plays it across. It's smart play. This is why Diogo Jota is such a talented player. This is why he's so good for Liverpool. And this is why we were excited just over a year ago when we were potentially linked with him, because I thought he'd be a really top player for Newcastle United. But it looks like he's not going anywhere from Liverpool, and rightly so.
He loves the pockets, Pete. Diogo Jota. That's why Liverpool fans love him. He's kind of he's not the same type of player as like Suarez, but the way Suarez he'd always stretch the lines. He's always somebody who wants to just be active around the box. You very rarely see someone like Diogo Jota standing still. He's always looking to really expose defenders and pull them away from where they should be. And that goal clearly highlights it. He's sitting in a reasonably comfortable position. If you when you had it up there on screen, Pete, if you're looking at Botman's position and Shaw when Jota's where he is, you go, good position. It's good. And all it takes is that one slide movement, and he's free. And then Liverpool, when they've got the players like Salah, Gravenberch, Jones, Gakpo, they've got that quality to kind of spot these runs. And they're training with Diogo Jota day in, day out, and they'll be used to him making those runs. And that's what killed us, because I think if you especially as a centre back, if you're flat-footed, there's always a danger of being caught out by someone like Diogo Jota.
But and I'll throw this in there as an observation for me, and it's not maybe as highlighted in this goal. I think you look at the fact that you've got Salah, Jota, Gravenberch, Curtis Jones, and Gakpo all ahead of our midfield. That's a massive red flag for me. And we've talked about it before about our midfield not recovering quick enough. Bruno Guimaraes being our defensive midfielder and Gravenberch already ahead of him. Bruno Guimaraes should be there, sitting in front of Botman and Shaw. A defensive midfielder should be sitting there. And part of why this goal happens is because we don't have anyone there. If we did, And I was able to move that here and create that there. And I'm changing the animation now. So I won't play the animation back because it won't look right because
Stop the goal. We'll win the match.
Yeah, we stop the goal. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
Back to the future.
Yeah. But that's where your defensive midfielder should be. But unfortunately, it's here. And that's part of the problem. Because when that ball, and I'll see if I can play it back, when that ball gets played in, when Salah comes and cuts inside onto his left, Botman almost stops to try and double up with Burn. That takes him away from Jota, and that allows Jota to make the move in and behind because there's no midfielder there to sit in that moment. If Bruno Guimaraes is here right now, and I don't know if I'll be able to change it. I can't. It's not letting me. If I was to change that and Bruno Guimaraes was here right now, that goal doesn't get scored. Botman can double up with Salah, even if the ball gets put in. We've got the defensive midfielder sitting in here that sweeps it up. Or Shaw comes in here and sweeps it up, and the defensive midfielder comes in there. So even if the ball gets played across, it gets cleared. They're the little differences that we're not getting right in this game.
Yeah.
You're
5 on 4, Pete. You're 5 on 4, and you've either got Botman or Shaw having to deal with 2 men. You've got Botman thinking, does Burn need a hand with Salah? You've then got Botman thinking, oh, I've got Jota running at me. You've then got Shaw thinking, do I go with Jones? Do I go with Gravenberch? And we're talking about split-second decisions here. Split-second decisions. And all it takes is a little bit of indecisiveness in. It's done. As we saw, it's done.
Yeah. And that's what happens. And again, we're looking more in depth on this goal now, and you can see where the problems are coming about. And it's again, Chris, as you mentioned it, lack of communication. It's creating this problem when we're not talking to each other. Midfielder not recovering, getting back in. Foxy and others have talked about a lack of a number 6. Yes, we know that that's not what Eddie Howe plays with, but as part of Eddie Howe's evolution, he's going to have to bring in a number 6 because these situations are going to keep happening. They just are, because people don't want to hear this. I'm going to say it right now. I'm sorry, but the Premier League teams have figured out how to play against Newcastle United. They've figured out this high press, high intensity, what we love in intensity being our identity and all the rest of it. Premier League teams have now figured out how to cause us problems. And this is not just because of what Liverpool did to us last night. It's because of what Forest did to us. Because of what Luton did to us. It's because of what other teams have done to us. Everton, for example, at Goodison Park.
Bournemouth. Yeah, it's Bournemouth.
They have figured out how to get beyond the press. They've figured out how to cause problems for Newcastle United's defence. They have put in pockets of players in and behind this midfield that if you break the press, you're in. And you've got a chance. And we are conceding chances far too often for my liking. Someone put it in the chat, and they've been talking about it all day. Liverpool's XG was the highest the Premier League has ever seen. That is not acceptable on any level for Newcastle United. I would expect that. We beat Sheffield United 8-0 away from home, and we didn't even have the XG of that. That should not be Newcastle United suffering that level of XG in a game. I would expect that from a Luton, from a Sheffield United, not from Newcastle United. And questions have got to be asked, and fans are quite rightly asking questions of why this is happening, because it's not good enough. It isn't. I don't care where we are in our project. I don't care where we were 3 years ago under Steve Bruce. I don't care the fact that, it's a work in progress. That last night, in terms of that, shouldn't be happening. And I was trying to be positive on my tweet after the game, but I'm not being positive now because that is not good enough. It just isn't.
So everyone knows now what our kryptonite is, where our weaknesses between those lines, and that not having a dedicated number 6 that knows how to play that position. So what are we going to do about it? that is key for January, and that is something that can be fixed. As even in our show yesterday with Kieran Maguire, he even said maybe we don't want to pay that all that loan money for Calvin Phillips or someone else, but we have the money to do that at the bare minimum. So it's whether the trigger is pulled on bringing in a specialized number 6 to try and combat something like this. Remains to be seen.
And that is a great show, Daz. Like, we're obviously going to say that because it's our channel, but we all said it afterwards, including Kieran Maguire. Really enjoyed that show, really informative. Gave so much information about where the club financially stands. So if you haven't watched it, go watch that show because it is a brilliant, brilliant watch. And I just think right now, I think it gives us an idea of where we're going to go. Forget what Luke Edwards has said. Forget what Mark Douglas has said. Forget what others have said about, not sure if we're going to be getting too many players in this month. There are certain journalists that are being told to put this stuff out. And understandably, because I want to keep the prices down, we will be signing at least one player. I expect 2 or 3 to come in. Might not be straight away. We might have to wait until later on in the month, but I do believe players will come in because they have to. They have to come in.
I have a question for you, lads, right? And I know we'll let's go to the viewers' questions next. But what is the whole story with Callum Wilson going to Dubai? What's your thought? Is it just like holiday break? He's slight injury, whatever it might be, or do you think there's something going on in the background that they might be talking to some Saudi clubs, or the rumors of speculation throwing that out there, and maybe now is the time to move him on? I've said in the past he needs to push down as a third striker, but what's your thoughts on the whole Callum Wilson debacle there? Not to cause a conspiracy theory or anything. That's true. That was crazy. That was Jimmy's question yesterday on would we sell Bruno to so we could take care of financial fair play for a couple of years and spend for a while. But yeah, back to that one, Wilson.
What do you think, Chris?
I do you know what? I've felt this way for a while now, and I think Daz hit the nail on the head. I think Wilson cannot be trusted to be the number 2 striker at the club. I think we need that third striker, and I do think it will ultimately mean that Callum Wilson becomes the third choice striker at the club. That's not to say he's the third best striker at the club, but we need somebody else to come in and provide us with that little bit of security, because otherwise, I mean, look where we are now. Some people were saying in the chat earlier that apparently Callum Wilson might be out till February, which now means we've left with one striker in Alexander Isak, and all it takes is for him to pull up, get a nasty tackle at the weekend against Sunderland, and we're in big trouble again. We've got no recognised striker up front. I really, really believe that we need to go out and buy either, a hybrid centre forward, and what I mean by that is somebody who can play as a centre forward and also play in another position. I know people will say that we've got Anthony Gordon for that. I still don't think Anthony Gordon's the answer as a third choice striker. Yes, it's nice that he can play there, but really you need that focal point, and I don't think Anthony Gordon is a good focal point in that false 9 or number 9 position, whatever you want to call it. He tends to drop deeper. We do need that goal scorer, that goal poacher. And unfortunately, as much as I love Callum Wilson, and when you look at his goal scoring record for Newcastle, it's fantastic. But equally, if you look at how many games that he's missed or could have played for Newcastle, it's a big amount. And in this day and age, you cannot survive with 2 strikers at a club, especially when one of them is very injury prone. And let's be honest, since Alexander Isak's joined the club, he too has struggled with his injuries. So for me, we've got to go out and we've got to bring in another recognised striker, as Daz says, because we can't afford to keep relying on Callum Wilson when he's simply not able to stay fit for more than 6, 7, 8 games. Well, it seems that way anyway.
Oh, good points, Chris. You haven't answered the question, so Peter's going to answer the question for me because I know he doesn't want to. So what do you think there's anything that that Wilson could be on the move to a Saudi club?
Yes, but in the summer. I think honestly, this goes back to a number of points that I made before. I think this is probably the last season for Callum Wilson at Newcastle United, in my opinion. I think it's certainly Callum Wilson's last season as being a guaranteed starter back up to Alexander Isak. I said this to you boys middle of last season. I said going into this season, Alexander Isak needs to be first choice. He wasn't. Callum Wilson he started the season, but Callum Wilson was still being picked for Premier League matches ahead of Isak, and Isak was playing Champions League matches. So effectively, if you're playing Premier League matches, you're still first choice. But equally, he goes out to Dubai to do a lot of his training when he's recovering because he needs the hot weather in order to recover from his injuries. A lot of players do. A lot of players do go abroad to hotter climates to get involved in training. So that point is valid, and I think it was actually confirmed by Eddie Howe that he goes over to Dubai to do a lot of his training over there. But I wouldn't be surprised that he moves to Saudi. I wouldn't be surprised in the summer, and I think I've got a feeling that Callum Wilson may well be given not an ultimatum, but I think he'll be told by the club and Eddie Howe, if you want to stay at Newcastle United, you can stay, but you're not going to be guaranteed to play minutes. That there's going to be someone else that's coming in that will be fighting it out for Alexander Isak, and you'll be the third choice. And you can stay if you want to be that, or if you want to play regular football, you may well move. You're going to need to move on. And I think Newcastle will look to sell him to Saudi, and I think Callum Wilson will consider it. A lot of money is out there. He's a Premier League player that's played Champions League football this season. I think it's a player that Saudi will want to bring in. He's an England international as well. If he goes to the Euros, which he still has a chance of going, he may well still go. They're signing an England international, which heightens the amount of money we could get. We could get 35 million for Callum Wilson. He scored 18 goals last season. He's on 8 this season. Probably could get 15 goals in that season. We could justify selling him for that sort of price. And that would be an outstanding business for Newcastle United. Going into a summer where we've got Adidas coming in and 35 million for Callum Wilson, we could go out and sign a proper top striker, even potentially a striker to be neck and neck with Isak to go forward. So for me, I genuinely think, and you boys know how much I love Callum Wilson. I think he's been superb for us. Before the season's out, he'll be second top Premier League goal scorer, and rightly so. What I am saying is that I do think that we will go out and get a top striker. I'm not going to say who it is. I think we will speculate. We'll speculate. We're talking private, of course we will. But I genuinely think this will be the last season for Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson's a proud guy. I think he'll want to go and play regular football somewhere. He won't want to be someone that plays every 3-4 games and play a few minutes here and there. He wants to be the main man. He's got a little bit about himself, and that's fine. But go where we want you to go, where you're going to get the most money for you, and move on from that. And I think that's what we'll do.
Yeah, no, and back to David's comment there. I'm not looking at the comments, but I'm sure that information came via Eddie Howe, but I don't really trust what Eddie Howe says to the media, so I'm suspicious of everything like that. But yeah, what if something like that did happen? Would be boost our coffers for bringing in a replacement. Yeah. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, do you know what, Az? I was just going to say, because sorry, I didn't answer that question, did I? I think can we afford to let Callum Wilson go? And the reason I ask that is because then surely then what we're saying is we need 2 strikers to come in. Because if we lose Callum Wilson, we're then going to have to replace Callum Wilson, and then are we going to end up having the same problem in the new striker who's coming in if he gets injured or suspended or something like that? Are we then going to be in the same boat, or is it because Callum Wilson, if he does command a fee that Pete suggests, like 30, 35 million, that does go and get you 2 new strikers? Is that maybe what the club are thinking?
I think 2 would be pushed at one, and even plow some of that money into somewhere else as well, somewhere else in the team. But no, it was just when the story came about before the game yesterday, just had my mind racing. But let's go to the chat and the loads of questions we need to get through here. So where are we going first?
Right. So let's have a look. Well, first of all, massive big shout out to Shane Mawson, because Shane Mawson's been a member for 2 years. 2 years.
2 years, Shane.
Not Shane.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah, much appreciated, mate. And also, I needed to shout out that we had a super chat from, sorry if I get this wrong, Sopez247. So massive thank you to Sopez there. Thank you very much for that.
Cheers.
And Sopez says, the media has shut up about our owners now. The club's direction has changed from being number 1 to a top 6 side. From being a no one to a top 6 side. How has changed tactics to gung-ho? Longstaff doesn't sit in anymore when Bruno goes forward. That's an interesting point, that. That's a really interesting point, because we were all calling not so long ago, weren't we, for when Sean Longstaff wasn't in the team. Bruno didn't look half the player, but since Sean Longstaff's come back from this injury, we've not really seen an upturn in performance from Bruno, really, have we? Do you think that's fair, what Sopez is saying?
Yeah, the media shut up about the owners because we're not causing a problem to the top 6 right now. So when we cause a problem to the top 6, they're always going to come out and go Saudi, PIF, because they don't want it. The media doesn't want it. A lot of these journalists, these national journalists, are reporting on Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, Liverpool. They have literally based their careers on what they thought was a sure thing, which is one of those top clubs that they thought would always be up there, so they'd always be heightened of the news. All of a sudden, Newcastle United come along, and now they've not got any ins because they've spent all of their careers, their media careers, attaching themselves to a club where they thought they would always be up there. But then Newcastle United come along and they've got no links to Newcastle United because we've been down the bottom and in the Championship, then back up and relegation battles and all the rest of it. And they've thought, yeah, I don't care about Newcastle United. All of a sudden, we become a talking point and they've got no links with us. And they see us as a potential threat that could be up there with Man City, and they've got no links to the club, no ins, no viable way in. And so what they want is Newcastle United away because it doesn't benefit their own careers. It's a personal thing with a lot of these journalists. So because Newcastle United are down there, they don't care about us anymore because we're not a direct threat. But we will be. And regardless of what happens this season, Newcastle United will be back. There is no doubt about it. Newcastle United will be back, regardless of whether we get European football or not, regardless of whether we're in the Europa League, Europa Conference, Champions League, whatever it is at the end of the season, we will be back next season. We will always be there. And this is what people outside of this club, outside of this fan base need to understand. That we're going through a bad moment at the moment, but this doesn't mean the end of Newcastle. We will be back. There's no doubt about it.
We're not leaving.
We're not. We are here.
Do you know what?
We are here to stay. There is no doubt about it, lads. We are here to stay. 100%.
Just to add into what you've just said, Pete, and I was thinking this actually on the way home in the car. It's funny because the last 3 weeks, in my WhatsApp chat with my mates, which contains Blues and Reds, they all daily go at me, over Eddie Howe, over Newcastle. Newcastle aren't going to get into Europe. Newcastle are getting knocked out of the Champions League. Newcastle are going to this. Newcastle are that. Blah blah blah. Injuries, and it only dawned on me today, and I was thinking, do you know what? I don't instigate any of this. It's like we're all rent free in their head. It's going on and on and on and on. And I even said to them before, I was like, why are you all so bothered? Because the only people who are bothered about this current situation are all of you, and I'm just sitting here, just like, it's okay. it is what it is. We are going through bad moments. Things are bad at the minute, but it's not like in the Ashley days. It's not like where we're all fearing for the future of the club. We're all unsure of what's going to happen. It's just like, well, this is a bump in the road. And hopefully Eddie Howe can see us through it. And hopefully Eddie Howe can come out the other side and, things will get back to being rosy again. But if not, things move on. But the club is a constant, and the club is only going one way, and everybody knows it. And that's why everyone keeps talking about us, and that's why everyone's going, oh, the drama at Newcastle, the catastrophe at Newcastle. And it's like, well, as things stand, correct me if I'm wrong, Newcastle's still in the top 10. Even though we've been on this horrendous run, we're still within touching distance of that top 6, top 4. We're not, the way they carry, I mean, look at Chelsea. Chelsea are below us. No one's talking about Chelsea. And, Chelsea is celebrating the fact that Chelsea fans are celebrating the fact that the transfer window's open. And it's like, how much more do you want to throw at it? Yeah, how much more do you want to throw at it? But no one's talking about Chelsea. No one's talking about the fact that Chelsea, have spent, over $1 billion since Todd Bowley's come in. And Chelsea are where they are. And they've still got a team which is currently relying on a 45 million Cole Palmer, who they got from Man City. Yet to mention all the other players that they brought in who aren't doing very much at all. And as I keep reminding me mates, we've spent 320 million since the new owners come in. 320 million. I said, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Come back to us when we've spent 3 times that amount, then criticise.
Arsenal are getting pelters right now from their own fan base, and Arteta's getting pelters because they've spent 700 million. And it looks like they spent 700 million. They had a title charge last year, and now they're going backwards. And they're right to give Arteta pelters because he's had 4 or 5 years in the job. Like Eddie Howe's been here 3 years. One of them was trying to keep us in the Premier League. Goes back to the point. This is why we just need to calm a little bit. Just calm. We're going through a horrible period. We don't like this. We don't enjoy this. We hate coming on and talk about another loss. So do people in the chat. But we have to ride these moments. We're still in that work in progress. It still takes time to get to where we want to be, whereas we want to be a regular like a Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, Tottenham, where you're regularly fighting for top 4 every season and you almost know you're going to be up there before the season has even started. We're not at that stage yet and we're still building, but it doesn't mean that we can't critique what's not going well at the moment. And we can still point out things that we're not necessarily happy with. We have our right to do that as a whole fan base. But we also need to understand that, we just need to calm a little bit. And we talks about on there how he's changed his tactics to gung-ho, Longstaff doesn't sit in anymore when Bruno goes forward. The problem with that is that teams have figured this out. So Bruno shouldn't be going forward. We talked about it before. Someone else put it in the chat. We did the tactics board for the Brighton game where it was the first time I used the tactics board where I showed you guys where Evan Ferguson scored that goal because Bruno goes and presses their defensive midfielder on the halfway line and leaves a huge gap in behind that then Ferguson turns Burn inside out and whips the ball into the top corner. This has been happening since the start of the season. It has to stop. We have to stop that process. But equally, I would add that the press starts with the furthest forward player, which is your striker. And your striker sets the tone. And for recent games, last 5 or 6 games, our striker hasn't set the tone, whether it's been Wilson or Isak. And the reason being is because they are either playing with an injury or they're not fully fit. And so they are not pressing with intensity. Gordon might be, Miggy might be, Joe Linton might be, whoever's playing on the wings. But if your striker isn't doing it, the whole thing falls apart. And that's what I'm seeing. And I saw it again, even against Liverpool last night, where Isak's not as intense in his press. But it goes back to the point that Chris says. We're now in a position, and it has been confirmed. Wilson is out for the rest of January. He won't be back until Luton. So now Isak's always going to be mindful and monitoring his press because you don't want to get injured. Because if he gets injured, we've got no striker.
Yeah.
And to add to that, I'll put on there. Craig Hope is just tweeted out to say that Willock, Barnes, Anderson, none of them are going to be back until the earliest Aston Villa. So these players that we want to get back in and that we need back in aren't going to be available for another 3 weeks. It adds to the point that we need players in now. We need them bedded in. We need them giving something to this squad. We can't, and there's no guarantees Harvey Barnes comes back in. That they're saying that this is a critical moment. If he comes back in and feels pain again, he's going to have an operation on his foot, and that operation on his foot means he's going to be out for the rest of the season because the injury that he's got. If he'd have had surgery, and he hasn't had surgery, but if he'd have had surgery, he'd have been out 6 months. This is a serious injury for him with the bone in his foot because it's really delicate and it's hard. It takes time to recover. And if it doesn't, and he has another setback, he has surgery, he's going to be out for the rest of the season. We're not going to see him until next season, which is why I think they're holding off signing players. Because if that comes back, if Barnes comes back and fails again, they are going to have to sign somebody. Because we can't go in with just Gordon on the left-hand side. Willock's been the same. He's been injured all season. Are we going to have to go out and get 2 midfielders instead of 1? Because he might break down and be out for another 6 weeks. We can't afford it. This is why I'm saying to you, January is so important because we've got players there, Wilson, Willock, Harvey Barnes, that we want back desperately, but there's no guarantee they're going to stay around long. We can't afford to do that. And we can't afford to keep having Richie and Dummett on the bench because Eddie Howe doesn't want to play them. Eddie Howe doesn't want to play them. He likes them. They're great people. They are great servants to the club. But when you want quality to make the difference in the second half of the season, you can't rely on them. You can't back them to do the job. So we need players in that can. And this is the problem that we've got right now.
Yeah.
I agree with everything you said, Pete, but there's no way we're going to be signing another left winger. Barnes, if he comes back, as this is the whole point you made. We've Gordon,
And he don't want him.
J7, we've got Willock that could fit I know the injuries, but because we've only got Miggy on the right.
That's what I mean. But there's no reason why we can't go out and sign someone that can play on both flanks.
Yeah.
There's no reason why. Like we like versatility. So, like, I'm giving you an example. Ferran Torres. I'm not saying we're going to sign him, but Ferran Torres can play on the left or the right. You sign someone like that on loan with an option or a view to buy. You get someone like there you go on the button as well. You sign someone like that, and this is just an example. I'm not saying he's going to come to the club. I'm not even saying he's leaving Barcelona. But I'm just throwing a player out there. You sign someone that's versatile. They can play on the left or the right. Problem solved because you've got an option there that can fit in for both. You can bring him on and give Gordon a rest. You can bring him on and give Miggy a rest, or you start him and play him either side, which I would expect him to play on the right-hand side. And then you bring Miggy on that plays on the right-hand side as your backup option. You've also then got Murphy coming back that can play both as well. So then you're kind of adding there a bit of quality. And that's just one example. Or you just do what I want to do and just go and 40 million on Rafinha. And then there you go. Problem solved.
Job's a good one.
Quick fire, Chris.
Yeah, I was going to say that kind of leads into nicely what Hugh O'Neill said. Hugh O'Neill said, question for Pete, do you think with the transfer window open, it almost strengthens our position to purchase in the transfer window? Mourinho always used losses in December and January to his advantage.
There's a club mentioned as well in our own chat. There.
Yeah, it does strengthen our position to purchase because we're, as Kieran Maguire said in the show yesterday, we do have money to spend, and there's a lot of clubs. I don't know if you've seen the article that's come out today. In the next 2 weeks, the whole of the Premier League will find out where they stand with their FFP, and there's huge rumours. And I think I might have put it in our chat. There's huge rumours that Nottingham Forest are going to be very close to that, if not failing FFP. And they may need to sell players to balance that books. Everton could potentially get further charges and further deductions, maybe points related, because they're still within it. So they're not going to be able to sign anybody. But there's talks about Man United being close to the limit. There's talks about Arsenal being close to the limit. There's talks about Tottenham being very close to the limit, that they can't spend. But Newcastle United can. And with the position that we're in right now, we have to. I'm not saying we go out and get the Ferran Torres or the Rafinhas, but there's players out there that we can get. Remember, I think we can get up to 6 European loans if we wanted to. We've gotten one more loan in this country that we could get where we're not having to pay a permanent fee for somebody. we need a stopgap to get us through to the end of the season. We need to be looking at that option. And I'm sorry, I'm being ruthless here, and I keep talking about that word ruthless. I'm willing to take Richie and Dummett out of the squad for the rest of the season because we've got a lot of defenders, or a Manquillo who's barely kicked a ball. I'm willing to take them out of the squad to ensure that we've got quality players ready to play for the second half of the season. Because it's critical, boys. I'm telling you right now, we have to get European football of some form. To keep our progress the way we want it to, we have to get European football. If we don't, we aren't going to be able to attract the sort of players that this club are going to want to attract in the summer. That we have to, and we're still well in with a shot of getting it, but we need to act now. To get players in, bed them in against Man City and Villa, and then Luton at home. That's where we go to town.
The revenge tour.
That's where the revenge tour comes to light. You know it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we've seen in the past how January transfers have revitalised the team. I'm trying to remember who the double signing was. It was Dubravka. It was Dubravka and somebody else, wasn't it, who came in as a double signing in January for us. I think it was under Rafa, and they were huge for us, and he turned the season round. Can anyone remember who the other player was?
Wasn't Anders Townsend? No.
Can't think. Anyone in the chat, if you can remember, do let us know. But he came in. It was Dubravka and somebody else came in the January transfer window.
Slimani.
Oh, was it Slimani?
I think it was Slimani. He came in on loan. Slimani came in on loan at the same time as Dubravka, because Dubravka obviously had his great start. I think Slimani was injured for a period. And then he had a couple of games where he was really good. He scored against Arsenal, but we beat him at home. And then I think he got sent off against West Brom, which is why Rafa Benitez didn't keep him on, or didn't want to keep him. I think he sent him back from his loan early. Yeah, and then we didn't sign him in the summer. I think he might have even gone to Monaco after that. I think they loaned him out again, but I think it was.
I've checked it here. It was Kennedy as well. Kennedy, Slimani, Dubravka. Kennedy
and Dubravka were brilliant.
Remember, he came up on the train with Pete Grace. Pete Grace made that sound. Remember that?
Yeah. Right, boys. So Trippier for Prime Minister says apparently Hall's obligation's been triggered now. So that puts that one to bed, if that's the case, because he came on again.
Yeah, I saw that.
Hall. Yeah, so that puts that one to bed. I love this comment from Hugh O'Neill. He says, evening, boys. You know it's a bad state of affairs when the review show of the previous match is more entertaining than the actual match.
Especially when Pete can change the outcome by one little tweak and we can change the result.
Yeah,
I wish.
That's what we needed. Let's see. Seb, so big shout out to Seb. Hope you're well, mate. Seb says, I honestly don't think we'll lose to both Man City at home and Villa away. It wouldn't surprise me if we draw both of those games. Do you both agree with Seb there?
Yeah, I can, but there's a lot to happen between now and then, I think, and getting over this weekend, just the mood as well. I think it will help. I don't want to be going into that City game and some portion of the fans being against Eddie either. But I think, we can get something from both those games.
Yeah, there's no reason. The St. James's Park, anything's possible against any team in this league. So there's no reason why we can't go up against Man City and get something. The Villa game, I think, is a game that we should really target because there's a potential that we can have one or two players back. They've not talked about Murphy. Murphy was meant to be back before the end of the month, could well be back in. But I'm fully expecting a couple of signings to be in. It's the 30th of January. It's the day before the end of the transfer window. We should have done at least a couple of bits of business by then. So I'm expecting an improvement in squad by then. I'm expecting, I'm expecting at least Willock, maybe even Barnes to be available by then. I'm hoping that there's going to be they'll be back in time for that sort of game that really bumps up the squad. But I'm more expecting a couple of additions, in my opinion, to really attack the Villa and go for them. because Sheffield United and Burnley have proven that they can be stopped. They can be stopped.
And those signings would give us that bit of a boost as well that we need something to trigger us off. So yeah, hopefully by then.
Julie Husband asks, do you think Man United wanting Dan Ashworth has caused any problems behind the scenes? Not necessarily what's going on the pitch, but do you think it's maybe caused a little bit of unrest, Daz?
I'm going to say no here, Judy. I think Dan Ashworth is too much of a professional for that to impact him personally, and also I think. Look, I think if he really wanted to go, the club wouldn't stand in his way. Now he'd have to see out his contract to do that. But I don't think that the Man United maybe looking at him is an issue at all. I think I kind of just ignore all that talk. I just think he's something wrong in the head if he wants to go to Man United. That's my personal opinion.
I think Dan Ashworth has to stay at Newcastle United at all costs. For two reasons. One, because he's one of the best around to do it. And this is the reason why I said it before. We waited 6 months in his gardening leave to finish to sign him. That shows how good he is, and we were willing to wait to get him in because we wanted to get the best. Secondly, if we allow him to go to Man United, that's a huge blow to this board, this ownership, because what that reaffirms is that other teams are capable of just cherry picking us when they want to. And I think Newcastle United as a team, as a club, and as a board and an ownership have to ensure that this doesn't happen. They have to. He might want to go and work with his best mate. I think it's Brisdale, who's one of his really close mates, who's trying to get him in. And this is the big stickler, is that he's one of his really good mates is trying to get him in. So working with your mate is always going to be an attractive option. Not the fact that obviously he's going to Man United, which, look, they're poor right now, but they're still a massive club. So there's the pull of that, and we have to be real. We have to be real about that. But he signed for us, and he signed up to a project, and we need to ensure that we keep him to that project. And there's talks that he's happy. And there's an article that came out tonight by the iPaper. I think Peter Hall put a piece out saying that they want Ashworth and Mitchell. They want both of them, which is massive for them. But we need to ensure that doesn't happen. And honestly, there's talks of people saying that the sporting director of Bournemouth is a good friend of Eddie Howe's, and that's looking to be our replacement. Nah, I'm not happy with that. I'm not happy with that at all. He is. I don't even know who the guy is, but he is not the guy that I want to come in. He's got no pedigree at the top level of this game. He might be Eddie Howe's good mate. That's not good enough for me. I don't want someone to just be a yes man to Eddie Howe. I want someone to push Eddie Howe. I want someone that's got contacts around the world, which Dan Ashworth has, to get the best young players and the best quality of players into this team, which Dan Ashworth's got the pedigree of. Not this guy from Bournemouth. I'm sorry, I would not be happy with that at all.
I'm not buying this at all. It's too much of an easy story to dream up and to write over weeks. It's a filler. Now I imagine it'll even die down now because they'll have filler for all the transfer window stories. So that's why I don't believe it.
It's doing what it's doing. It's doing what it's intended to do. It's unsettling us. It's unsettling the fan base. It's unsettling the club. The fact that his name's not being linked. Honestly, I think it needs to be done right now, that it comes out, and it's not even a transfer, it's not even a player, but Dan Ashworth is so important to our project. The club need to come out and say, Dan Ashworth's here to stay. He's not going anywhere. All this talk with Man United is rubbish. He's here to stay. There's been murmurs of him saying that in the background, that he's happy with his job. He's not planning on moving. He's here to stay. There's even been talks that his gardening leave is a year. that he has to work 12 months as part of his contract before he goes to any other club. There's all this sort of talk, but I don't want any of this talk. I want him to, not him, because he's not coming out and pushing this move, but I just want it from the club, just to settle the fan base down and just to cut all this negative talk he's leaving, to say, I'm committed to this project. I'm enjoying what I'm doing at Newcastle United. I want to stay here. End of discussion. And what you're finding is all of those links to Dan Ashworth stop.
Yeah.
And that's what we need right now. Because they're drumming up this interest. The Man United fans are jumping on it and almost talking like he's already there. It's not a reality, but you don't want it to be a reality.
While they're at it, they could give their backing towards Eddie as well. It's all rumors that they're all behind Eddie. So why not share the love and let everyone know that how united we are, and we continue to be, come what may.
Yeah. Absolutely. A few more questions, boys. David R says, looking at some of our best away performances last season and comparing them with recent lineups, one key player is missing, and it seems to be the one player to make us tick, and that's Joe Willock, most valuable squad member. Daz, do you agree with that?
I wouldn't say he's the most valuable squad member. We are missing him. We talked about before who's the one person, if we had to lose someone that would be that would generate money and contribute towards our FFP debacle. That maybe Joe Willock might be the one. But yeah, he's when he's on fire, he's key to us. But he wouldn't be my most valuable squad player. But yeah, it's another outlet. We never saw the glut of goals that he scored when he came with to us on loan. But he's a key player to have in the squad, and someone that can change a game as well, even if he's coming off the bench, and another outlet for us. But yeah, I wouldn't go as far as most valuable squad player.
Yeah, how much are we missing Joe Willock, Pete?
I think we miss his ability to run long distances with the ball, counter-attacking play. We're lacking pace in this team regardless. We are, particularly in those midfield areas. I think Willock is a big miss, not necessarily in front of goal. We're not missing his goals or assists because he doesn't get a huge amount, but we are missing his legs in, particularly away from home, getting back and forth. It's underestimated. And I think this season and some of our performances have shown that we need to invest in players that have pace. Obviously, they've got to have the quality as well on the ball and technical ability, but we lack pace. Centre-back position, midfield position, and definitely in wide areas, whether it's full-backs or attacking. We need pace in this team, because the Premier League's built on it. Fast, furious football, like non-stop, total action, and pace and power is needed. Joe Linton epitomizes that at this moment. That's what Joe Linton's about. Willock's the same. Tilo Livramento's the same. We've got players that can do it. He's the same when he's fully fit. Gordon, but we need more in this team. Because those areas, left back being a prominent position where we get exploited time and time again.
For me, it's that you're right. It's that turner pace as well. It's not even pace over a long distance. It's just where you get the ball, you turn and you go. And it's that pace over 10, 20 yards. It makes all the difference. And Joe Willock, one thing Joe Willock is very good at is carrying the ball at pace. That's what he's very good at, and he drives the team forward. So, no, I completely agree. And I think Philip Ray kind of alludes to this because he says, do you think that we should play Miley and Longstaff in the same midfield? And I think, Philip, that's the key problem. I think we've got two very similar midfielders in Miley and Longstaff. And I think if you replaced one of those with a Joe Willock, I think the balance of the midfield would be far better. We know that Bruno isn't the quickest, technically brilliant, but he's not going to provide you with that pace, and he's not going to drive you up the field like someone like Joe Willock does. I want to finish on this one, boys, and this is from our good friend PDK. And I've asked you this question before, but this is going to be the final question I ask you tonight. in my opinion, if the club are to get rid of how it needs to be at the end of the season for the new guys to have a pre-season with the team, we find out, and I've asked you this before, and PDK's asked you again. Will we find out this month if the board backs Howe or not? I genuinely think if we get to the end of January and we've got him one loan, that puts a little bit that makes me nervous for Eddie Howe. Put it that way, in my opinion, because I think Eddie Howe needs help, and I think he needs 2 or 3 players. And if the boards go out and let him get one loan signing in, for me, I think it could mean the writing's on the wall. I'll be deadly honest. However, if we go out and we sign 2 or 3 players, we're coupled with obligation, coupled with option, it just gives Eddie Howe more options, and it gives him the opportunity to, really make a good go of this second half of the season. But Daz, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, no, you did raise this very point, Chris, about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, and it's also what they put in front of Eddie. That is he willing to go for it? Like who's making they all have to agree and sign off. Eddie is the final say because he's the manager. He's going to be picking the team. So, but he has to be willing to he has to have take a bit of a gamble, I think, as well on whatever's put in front of him as well, because. Yeah, so it will be very interesting. Is it the case then that they didn't put anyone in front of him, and coming to January they only got the one loan signing in that scenario, or did they put a number and he turned a number of them down? So yeah, we don't get to see what goes on behind the scenes. But we'll find out in the next month where we are.
Pete, I think there's an opportunity for us to fast forward the recruitment drive, and I do believe that there's probably a catalogue of players that we've got an eye on, and I believe that if the owners are really serious about Eddie Howe and serious about trying to make a good go of the second half of this season, it could be that we press the button earlier on certain players that we weren't planning on doing so until the summer. So for the likes of Gordon last January, we said go and get Anthony Gordon. Do you think that as well, Pete, or do you think that, as Daz said, is Eddie Howe in a position to knock back players, or will he think, do you know what, bring them in? Because if he doesn't, really recruit in this January transfer window, is he not leaving himself wide open for the possibility of sacking?
Honestly, mate, I think if we don't press ahead and get players in now, I think we might be in a position to lose those players in the summer because we don't finish in the positions in the league that would allow those players to come in. It kind of works. It works in both ways. So I do think there's a big signing there where we can go and spend 30, maybe 40 million on bringing a signing in, a little bit like what we did with Anthony Gordon, because we need to now, partly because they're available now and we can get them now, but partly also because we need them in now to get us where we need to be at the end of the season, so we can go in the summer with the Adidas money and all the rest of it to go and get the other players that we want to target. So we've got the players that we need to and we want to, so we can attack 24-25 season the way we want to. So it all works out. It all works in tandem, and we need to exploit that. And we need to take advantage of that. And it goes back to my point. There's no reason why we can't go out. We've got money to spend. We go out and get one main permanent signing in a position that we really need. And then we go, right, okay, and we've got a position or two we need to fill. What loans are available? Can we get them on a decent loan? A European loan won't be asking for the 6, 7, 8 million that Calvin Phillips might be asking for. You might be able to get a decent loan at £4 or £5 million, but you're getting a quality player from top team in Europe that can't offer that player regular football, but we can. And we get them in and we take advantage of that, and we get them in for 6 months. It might only be 6 months, but you get them in, they do a cracking job, and then we might consider them and go, oh, okay, maybe we want to take this guy permanently. Or we go, thank you for your service. We're going to go with the players that we really wanted that are on our list in the summer. But thank you for doing the job for us to getting us where we need to get to. There's no problem with that. We, back in the day, Man City probably would have gone out and bought 40, 50, 60 millions worth of players and spent a shed load of money to get those players in, but we can't do that. So we've got to box smart. But there's no reason why quality players can't come in this month to make a difference to this team. And we don't have to spend permanent money on players, on all these players to do so. And I keep maintaining that. So we do.
David R's come up with the solution there, Pete. We can approach Forest
No,
financial
David, no.
Don't start, David. Don't start.
Right, lads, we're going to be ruthless. That's it. We're cutting off the questions. We're going to shoot down the show, but we're going to tell people what's happening because we're back again tomorrow. We're never off the screen. Here's what's happening tomorrow. We're back with Graham Bailey for a fully loaded transfer show. Ooh. So we're going to get, like we've talked about the financials, we've talked about the results, we've talked a bit about Eddie Howe. So now it's time to talk about some of the players, the names that linked again, and get Graham's opinion on the different things. And I do recall, I'm sure Graham will mention it when he's on, because when he last time was with us, he mentioned, oh, what about if Eddie Howe goes through a bit of a barren spell, what happens then? But yeah, I'm sure Graham will mention that. He always does. He always comes with something. It's not ASM, it's Eddie. Eddie's the new ASM for Graham. So yeah, looking forward to a bit of crack with Graham. And then on Thursday, tell us, lads, what's happening Thursday?
Well, Away Days is back in business, and we've got Sky Sports, Tom White, Sunderland fan coming to join us. It should be a tasty affair. I don't think either of us on the Newcastle or Sunderland side are going to hold back, and it'll be a great chat. So looking forward to that. That is for sure. Make sure you tune into both of those shows as well. Graham's going to mention the fact that Middlesbrough are in the semi-finals of the League Cup, and we didn't get there. We would have got them if we'd have beat Chelsea. So that would have been a right talking point. So he'll probably remind us of that, no doubt.
He sure will. But also, if you did not know, you can find us in a variety of different places. Obviously on YouTube, as you're watching now. We're also on Spotify. We're on Apple Music, Amazon Music. There are different platforms. And on our socials, we're on Twitter, X as it's now known, TikTok and Insta. And if any business inquiries, you can reach us at loadedmaginufcinfo@gmail.com. So there are our socials and platforms and our business email address for anyone that's ever looking for that. We'll flash that up and we'll put it on Twitter as well. That is it. Thanks for everyone for joining us and listening to us in the therapy session, as Pete called it earlier. Let's hope we don't have to add 2 more of these therapy sessions. I'm getting sick of them. But thanks for sticking with us. We'll be back tomorrow. And if you haven't guessed already, in Eddie we trust. How'd you like that? Good night, everyone.
How you like